is a reason why some claim that Jimmy Kimmel is the most hated celebrity in Hollywood. For someone whose job it is to make others feel at ease in an interview, this man is really good at upsetting people. Britney Spears likely had some strong feelings about Jimmy Kimmel for a while, and those feelings, probably some hate. During an award show, Jimmy Kimmel, as the host, once did a skit that mocked a very tumultuous period in Britney's life, which was currently ongoing at the time of that show. Her split and sort of marital legal battle with Kevin Federline, which also ultimately led to her becoming trapped in a conservatorship for years. Britney was slated to go on right after the skit to present an award, and was understandably upset after seeing the skit performed, which she actually hadn't been informed about. In fact, her team had actually demanded it be cut from the show, but the request was clearly ignored. I mean, I can't even imagine being on an award show and then going on stage to present something after a skit just happened that like literally made fun of a very serious thing happening in my life. How do you think that you would feel if something like that happened to you? Would you also be upset like Britney Spears? Where would your head be at? Emma Stone probably is not a big fan of Jimmy Kimmel after the 96th Academy Awards show. While she did take home the Oscar for Best Actress, and also had a really great speech, I gotta say, after they were done showing scenes from her film Poor Things, for which her performance was nominated, during the announcement of, the nominees where they show all the scenes from the movies and such, Kimmel remarked how that is all that they could show of her performance from the film, since the rest was too, basically, risque to show on television. He didn't say those exact words, but it's basically implied. During his bit, they cut back to Emma Stone, who did not look very amused, let's just say that. It's also believed that she was so unhappy at Jimmy Kimmel's jokes at her and the film's expense that she turned to her husband, Dave, and said, "What a prick," causing him to laugh in response. At least that's what we think she said, based on the way her mouth is moving in the footage. Though granted, we don't have a mic on it, so she might have not said that, but it definitely looks like she says, does this next celeb really hate Jimmy Kimmel? Probably not. But he sure does claim to hate him a lot and often. So often, in fact, that most people actually think this might not be a show and might actually be real. Most recently, Matt Damon was quoted as saying that Jimmy Kimmel is a terrible human being. Damon also went on to claim that he would never bury the hatchet between them, and their feud was basically ironclad. For life. In case you are unaware, well, they both have said severe words about each other over time, with Jimmy Kimmel even claiming that he didn't even know who Matt Damon was in response to Damon heckling him on a red carpet. Their feud is actually, most likely, all a facade that started as a joke. Jimmy Kimmel had a bit at the end of each show where he'd apologize to Matt Damon for running out of time to interview him. Of course, Matt Damon had never been a guest. Eventually, Matt Damon did come on his show to be interviewed, and after introducing him at the end of the show, Kimmel, rather than start the interview, just simply ended the show, literally apologizing to him, again, for running out of time. But this time literally, because Damon was right there. Damon then stormed off in anger, but of course this was all part of a bit. Their faux feud has been ongoing ever since. Billie Eilish might not hate Jimmy Kimmel, but she definitely was not pleased with him when she returned to be interviewed on his show. The previous time she had been on, they decided before the show to do like a little comedic bit together that involved Billie Eilish pretending she didn't know who Van Halen was. The whole skit was that she was basically going to be quizzed on pop culture references from 1984, and she was gonna, kinda like act dumb, and that was just part of the bit. Eilish played along at the time, thinking it was funny, but was later lambasted online for not knowing Van Halen, when in reality it had just all been for show and it was a joke. When she came back on the show to be interviewed 3 years later, she took the opportunity to call out Kimmel for the position he'd put her in, which had led to her being heavily criticized and tormented online. Tyler Perry had an awkward interview with Jimmy Kimmel where he aired some seemingly real beef and hurt feelings he harbored about the fact that Kimmel ditched his studio opening party and never gave an explanation for not attending after being invited. This also was at the start of their interview, so keep this in mind. Kimmel pointed out that the last time Perry was on the show was before the opening of his new studio, and Perry responded by calling out Kimmel for being invited and then not showing up. Perry also went on to say that Kimmel had said he would bring a gift with him, and Perry never received the gift. He was asking Kimmel, "Where is this gift? Where is the gift? I never got it. Where's the gift?" So Kimmel didn't even send a gift to Perry in place of his absence. Kinda rude. Yeah, not a great look. And definitely an awkward way to start an interview, I gotta be real with you, even though sure Kimmel didn't think that's where it was going, but he probably should have remembered that he didn't go to that party. He was so uncomfortable with being called out by Perry, Kimmel even got someone to run out to the gift shop to get a gift for Tyler Perry. Get him that studio opening gift. It's just, just at least he did that, I guess. Although from the gift shop. Jay Leno might not hate Jimmy Kimmel as much as Jimmy Kimmel hates him, but he definitely have a reason to. Jimmy Kimmel decided a while back to start a beef with Jay Leno that has been going on for honestly years. More than a decade at this point. Most people figure it all started because of David Letterman's ongoing feud with Jay Leno and because Jimmy Kimmel is a self-proclaimed Letterman fan. Although I don't know why Jimmy wouldn't just like get his own feud. Like, why does he have to take Letterman's feud? I don't know. But I digress. The feud stemmed out of Kimmel doing an impersonation of Leno on his show and evolved from there, with the two firing shots at one another back and forth forever, it feels like. For some reason, Jimmy Kimmel seems to have some mad beef with former X Factor judges, and this is like more than one. I don't know why. I guess he just doesn't like X Factor. One of them including Demi Lovato. There isn't a ton of history here, and Demi has been interviewed by Jimmy before, but I can't imagine they aren't aware of the remarks that Kimmel has made about them, especially when you consider that Demi has spoken out publicly and literally sung about all the voices that live rent-free in their head that echo many of the criticisms people have made of them. At one point, Jimmy Kimmel lumped Demi and Britney together, saying sarcastically, "No one knows talent like Britney Spears and Demi Lovato," but of course the tone said that he didn't think that either really understood talent at all. Jimmy Kimmel's bizarre desire to pick on former and current pop stars turned talent show hosts doesn't end there. Yeah, it keeps going. He also poked fun at Paula Abdul as well, saying some pretty nasty things about her. While talking about her, he said, "No one was more dedicated or medicated than Lady Paula." When she was on his show as well in 2011, during a time where she was a judge on X Factor with Nicole Scherzinger and Simon Cowell, he accused Paula and Nicole of basically ganging up together to eliminate Simon Cowell's contestant. Kimmel also suggested that Paula had created basically a master plan to get Cowell's contestant removed so that she could win the show. Paula was so upset by this line of questioning that she actually seemingly got up to leave the interview, but Simon Cowell called her back. What is even more bizarre is that this whole debacle does not end there. In the same interview, he picked on another judge. Surprise, surprise, another pop star turned talent judge, Nicole Scherzinger. He not only accused Paula in this plot, he accused Nicole and Paula of teaming up together and basically implied that Nicole had been a pawn kind of in this whole thing, or really was more like Paula's crony, doing her dirty work. In this case, the dirty work being that Paula had basically instructed Nicole to let it go to deadlock on the night of the vote. Paula said that this quote and everything was basically taken kind of out of context, it was being misinterpreted, but of course this did end up happening and the audience then got to vote because it did go to the deadlock. The audience voted to eliminate Cowell's contestant. However, Scherzinger refused to accept this accusation and instead stood up for her and her fellow judge Paula Abdul, insisting that she had actually owned this decision that she had made. It was her decision alone, she wasn't influenced, it was hers and hers alone. Needless to say, I can't imagine either of these women were big fans of Kimmel after this intense line of questioning and kind of this weird interview. Kanye West was so upset with Jimmy Kimmel, he went all caps. This happened after a skit in which Jimmy Kimmel had two kids doing a parody of a recent interview West had with the BBC in 2013. It's when this happened, by the way, so go back in time with me. The skit made Kanye so mad that he took to Twitter and wrote about his frustration in, yes, all caps, calling Kimmel names and claiming he was out of line for his parody. The two have been feuding ever since, with Kimmel also more recently commenting on Kanye West's remarks about a certain World War II leader and the value that he brought to the world. Yeah, that's a thing that Kanye said. Yikes. It's clear that Kanye West has beef with Kimmel, but also Kimmel honestly making some pretty good points on his side here, to be honest. I know this is supposed to be a list about how Jimmy Kimmel is maybe the worst, but for this one, yeah, he's making some good points in terms of some of the crazy stuff Kanye West has said. That's about it. We'll see you next time. And an interviewer parodying, why can I say parodying? Yeah. Yes, thank you. Doing a parody sounds better than parodying. Even though I know that's a word, it just sounds weird to me. Parodying. Doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound right.